I'm Jane Hauprich, owner of Stitch by Stitch Custom Quilting. I am a self-taught free motion quilter that just loves to share my knowledge of free motion quilting with others. I like to be able to enable people to finish their quilts from start to finish. And I love it when I get that aha moment happen when a student finally gets that, oh my gosh, I can free motion quilt. So I have a couple lectures to offer, actually 3 lectures to offer. The one is, how should I quilt this? Which is the question that everybody always asks. So in this, I share my technique and my process of going through how I go about quilting my quilt. Then I have another one called Making Negative Positive, because all that negative space really scares people a lot. So I talk about how we can break that negative space down and get it quilted to make it a more positive experience for you. And my last lecture is my personal journey in quilting from my very first quilt. So here's how my classes work. We have a 4 to 5 week classes, depending on the class topic. We're going to meet once a week on Zoom. We're going to have a private Facebook group where we get to interact with each other. The classes are recorded each week and posted to the private Facebook page. That way, if you miss a class, it's okay because it'll still be there. And class recordings and the Facebook group page are open for 3 months. Beginning your journey in free motion quilting. This will take a beginner free motion quilter and teach them from the beginning how to free motion quilt their quilt. Then we go on to Beyond the Basics in Free Motion, which is kind of a little bit of an intermediate class. I have free motion ruler work, beginner and intermediate. And let me say that all these classes apply to domestic quilters as well as long arm quilters. I have feathers class because feathers is one of my favorite things to do. And I also have some virtual on-demand classes that will be coming out soon. My website, Facebook page, Instagram, and YouTube. I post videos on YouTube when I get an opportunity. I hope that you'll follow me in any of these areas on social media because I would like to connect with you. These virtual classes have been really successful, and the fact that we get to interact on the private Facebook page has been great. And I feel like we've all become friends. Each class, I'm always sad when it ends. So I hope that you'll join me and let me help you in your free motion journey. Happy quilting.
Hi, I'm Beth Sullivan of Beth Sullivan Designs, and I'd like to talk to you about t-shirt quilts. That is my specialty. I've been doing these for almost 20 years now, and I've made over 1,000 t-shirt memory quilts and pillows. So I like to say that I can use anything that can be washed, sewn, and made to lie flat in a quilt. Some examples. So I have used, obviously, your standard t-shirt, hats, bibs. This is a lacy dress with an underlayer. Can I use both? Absolutely. Cloth backpacks, puff paint, and handmade items. Here's a scarf that can be seen, that you can see right through, and I have put these into quilts many times. Doilies, antique hankies. These can all go into separate quilts. They can all go into the same quilt. We work on that together. So on my lecture, for guilds and groups, we talk all about the different kinds of materials that we can put into quilts, different layouts. I talk about grid quilts and variable layout quilts and how you would go about determining which one you need to use, and show you a lot of pictures of really unique things going into the quilts. With the classes, it's a little bit different. We take your items, you send me pictures of some of your unique items ahead of time, and I come up with pictures myself to help you to make those adjustments and do that block prep. I offer 2 classes virtually, a 3-hour class where we concentrate on block design and work on your own unique materials to get your plan together. And then the 6-hour class, the all-day class, we do all of that as well as begin to sew and construct your quilt top. And I'm happy to help you with whatever you need. I offer one-on-one design consultation through Zoom as well. where if you are just a little bit lost, don't want to take a whole class and just want to spend an hour with me, we can go through your items and come up with your plan. So my website is BethSullivanDesigns.com. My Facebook page is Facebook.com/BethSullivanDesigns, and I hope that I'm able to help you. I look forward to seeing what you can do with your own memory items.
Hello, I'm Patricia Belyea of Oakland Arts in Washington State. I co-own Oakland Arts with my daughter Victoria, and we specialize in creative quilting and vintage Japanese textiles. I have 3 talks to offer you, one about Japanese quilting, another on spirit quilts, and a third about creativity. The first option, The Alluring World of Japanese Yukata Quilts, takes your guild to the Tokyo Quilt Festival, where we look at the competition quilts and the spectacular invitational exhibit, as well as other annual features. We then head north of the festival while talking about yukata cottons to arrive at a choose-in dyeing workshop where artisans hand dye yukata cotton. And I finish with a trunk show of my most recent quilts, a series called Big Grid with Inserted Curves. The second option for a talk, When a Quilt is More Than a Quilt, talks about spirit quilts, making quilts out of fabrics that are meaningful for the recipient, such as this quilt made with 3 generations of family clothes, or this with young man's shirts, or this quilt made with a young man's jeans and pants. The third option for a talk, The Unknowing of Creativity, explores the creative journey, looking at my recent series, Big Grid with Inserted Curves. We learn about my inspiration as well as process steps coming behind the scenes into my studio. To learn more about these 3 talks, pricing, and how to contact me, please visit oakonarts.com. I look forward to hearing from you and speaking with your guild.
Hello and welcome. My name is Marge Tucker. I'm an award-winning contemporary quilter located outside of Boston, Massachusetts. When I'm not making quilts, I love to teach. I offer a wide variety of classes based on improvisational piecing techniques. And I also have a great class on quilting with your walking foot. I have a 3-camera setup. So in all stages, you can clearly see what I'm doing. At the design wall, I also switched to my workspace where I'll show you how to do the different techniques. Then I switched to the sewing machine. Everyone can clearly see what I'm doing, whether we're doing straight lines or sewing curves. I offer 2 presentations. One is called My Life in Quilts, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. This is a story of my quilting journey. I show you some of my earlier quilts, but really focus on the contemporary abstract quilts I'm working on now. My other presentation is called Improv and Abstraction in Antique Quilts. I'll show you a portion of my antique quilt collection that are made using improvisational piecing techniques. I find these older quilts to be so inspirational. One of my most popular classes is eelgrass and eddies. You'll learn a technique of improvisationally pieced curves that results in 2 reverse images. You can use them as rectangles, such as in the quilt behind me, eelgrass and eddies, or cut them into squares and make half square triangles, which is what I did with the quilt behind me called Give and Take. Another favorite class is Harlequin Diamond Romance. We'll be string piecing rectangles, and when they come together, you get these beautiful light and dark diamonds forming. The quilt behind me is a scrappy quilt, and you can use up all those strips and strings left over from previous sewing projects. But you can make a very dramatic quilt just using solids. For more classes or further information on classes and presentations, you can go to my website, margetuckerquilts.com, or email me at margetuckerquilts@gmail.com. I hope to hear from you soon regarding a class or presentation. Until then, keep quilting.
Hi everyone, I'm Linda from Colorworks Designs, and welcome into my coloricious quilting world. I love everything about wonky piecing, easy machine applique, and of course color. And I'd love to introduce you to my current roster of workshops and lectures. I present all of my programs virtually as well as in person. For virtual events, we use the most up-to-date streaming, audio, and video equipment to ensure that you receive the most professional program possible. My newest workshop for 2022 is Topaz, 2 techniques in 1 workshop. The first technique is precision piecing, and I'll share all of my most valuable tips and tricks to help students refine and perfect their 1/4-inch seams. Our second technique is foundation or paper piecing. While working on this easy triangle pattern, I'll take you step by step through the beginning basics of paper piecing. Both of these techniques come together to make these 2 units, which in turn make the gorgeous Topaz quilt. Another fun 2 technique in 1 class is bodacious blossoms. Using just pairs of fat quarters and paper template shapes, students will make both the leaf and the flower block in class. Students will learn to perfect their 1/4-inch seam piecing as well as learn curved piecing on the leaf units to make these beautiful big blossom blocks. Colorbugs and Curves is our most popular workshop to date. With no 1/4-inch seams to stress out about, students get liberated and wonky while making these fancy-free slash and sew cute Colorbug blocks, as well as perfecting their curved piecing while making these easy-to-sew leaf shapes. Conquer Your Fear of Sewing Curves Cosmos is another super popular workshop. Wonky strip piecing combines with easy curved piecing to create this gorgeous, artsy 22-inch Cosmos circle. And for a more relaxing and super fun time, wonky piecing and easy applique makes a great half or full day workshop. Off-kilter and wonky piecing combines with easy machine applique on these super large animal shapes. Students can choose to make a cat, a fish, or a dog in class. Other workshops to choose from are Applique Stitch Lab, Strip In and Stitch In with Paintbox, and the fun half-day workshop Slash and Sew Mod TV. I also offer 3 lectures. My newest for 2022 is Precision Piecing, my best tips and tricks for successful piecing. Our most popular is Got Color, where we share techniques and tips to boost your color confidence. And of course, our ever-popular Colorworks Trunk Show, always updated and filled with loads and loads of colorful quilts. I invite you to go over to my website at colorworks.com under the Workshop tab, where you can download my rate sheet and a brochure. So thank you so much for joining me today. My contact information is right here, and I hope to see you either virtually or in person out on the quilt road soon.
Hi, I'm Toni, and I'm known as the Pixelated Quilter. My pattern line online name is Quiltoni, so you may or may not have heard from me. I either get a resounding yes or, who are you? Because I have such a niche pattern line. It is all pixelated, all based upon new sewers or experienced sewers or nerdy sewers. I assume that you know is you can sew a straight-ish line. So my pattern line's a great way to teach new sewers how to quilt. And I try to have the super cutesy, amazing patterns that are easy to put together. In fact, you can get my Happy Painter for free just by signing up for my newsletter on my websites. I also have other cutesy designs. I have all sorts of things In my workshops, I teach how to do pixelated patterns, as well as other things, quilt with a designer. I teach workshops both online and in person. I also do lectures, both online and in person. I'm also known for the Merging Cosplay with Quilting exhibit in Houston a few years ago. And yes, I used cosplay materials in making this quilt based upon the cosplay that is on. So I also have some Bargello classes that I love to teach, because what is Bargello except pixelations? I try to break it down as easy as possible. I stream online, both on Twitch and YouTube live, and I'm a YouTube partner and have all sorts of easy to follow tutorials on my YouTube channel. But teaching is my passion. Teaching and lecturing to guilds across the world is what I love to do. So hopefully you consider bringing me on in for a lecture and or workshop. And I will see you online. Don't forget, I'm Quiltoni, also Toni, the Pixelated Quilter.
Hi, I'm RaNae Merrill, the creator of Free Motion Mastery in a Month. This simple step-by-step learning system evolved from my lifelong experience as a pianist and piano teacher. Free Motion Mastery in a Month uses a unique progressive series of exercises that enable my students to learn free motion quilting quickly and easily. Come visit my classroom and see how it works.
Would you hope to get out of class? Is to be more familiar with the sewing machine and to be able to quilt some of my own quilts. I'm so happy to be here to find out how to correct the issues that I had, because I do enjoy it, but I wanted to make sure that the things that I could improve, I knew how to improve, because I had hit a wall.
So what we're going to do here today is dig into the fundamentals. I want to give you the stuff that makes everything else work. We break it down into clear tasks that your brain learns, and then we put them together. So, Joan, yes. You just finished a day of Free Motion Mastery in a Month Quantum Leap.
It was, because I came in with this much experience. My experience with free motion is trying it on my own, reading a book, and packing it all away and saying, I can't do that.
And how do you feel now?
I feel like I'm going to be going home practicing and I can do this. I will tell you, hands down, this is the best class I've ever had.
Hi, I'm Carolina Oneto, Chilean quilter living in Brazil, Sao Paulo. By profession, I am an industrial engineer, and for 5 years I worked in logistics, and then I was part of the faculty at a university where I taught engineering to young people who wanted to be engineers like me. After a few years, we moved to Buenos Aires, and there I discovered quilting. Since then, I haven't stopped, and I have been quilting for the last 10 years. Once we returned to Chile, I realized that I wanted to deepen my knowledge about color, and that is why I decided to study color interaction at the School of Art. I am currently a genome maker for Genome America, and I am also a Wonderfield thread specialist for Wonderfield Specialty Threads. When creating, I like to use color, curves, or improvisation in order to express what I feel, think, and perceive about the world around us. I would love to work with your guild to present my lectures and workshops online through Zoom. I have 2 lectures, Playing with Color Value, a lecture about how I use color value to create my quilts and design. In these lectures, I show you how color value can be a key design element for your quilts. And Befriending Colors, a lecture where we will talk about color theory and where you will learn how to create a color palette following 4 simple steps. I have also 3 workshops. Organic Shapes, a workshop where I teach you how to sew curve shapes with your sewing machine. Curves and Transparency, workshop where you will learn to cut and sew complex curves with your sewing machine. And also you will learn all the color theory that is behind a transparency effect. Playing with Color Value, a workshop where you will learn to play with color value in order to design your own quilt. I will teach you different strategies on how to use value as a design variable. This is a design class that will open your eyes to see and use color in a new way. Finally, I want to invite you to my website where you will find different on-demand classes that you will love.
Hi, I'm Sue from Sue Pelland Designs, and I just love introducing quilters to a new way to applique. All of my applique quilts are cut out with a rotary cutter. That makes your cutting fast and fun and just as easy as cutting out squares, rectangles, or triangles. Now, during my program, Fast and Fabulous Rotary Cut Applique, I am going to show your members some of the beautiful results of my applique quilts. But I also want to show your members how to accomplish those goals themselves, how they can become better appliqueurs just with their rotary cutter and a few tools.
When I started quilting back in the 70s, I fell in love with traditional applique quilts, but I don't always have time to make them in a traditional way. I also love curve piece quilts, but I don't enjoy curve piecing on the sewing machine. So I use applique to make both of these types of quilts. I designed the Leaves Galore tools and the Hearts and More tools to make applique easier for every quilter. If you can rotary cut, you can applique all of the beautiful quilts in my books and in my patterns. Your members will get a bird's eye view of my cutting station as I show them how to make 15 gorgeous applique shapes that will become the foundation for all of your applique quilts. As we have this conversation about applique, I want to answer all your questions about cutting, fusing, designing, and stitching quality applique quilts on your sewing machine. Your members will leave the meeting knowing they can make the applique quilt of their dreams with no applique anxiety.
It's my goal as a quilting teacher to inspire all of your members to fall in love with applique all over again or for the very first time.
So you'll see my style is a bit eclectic. I love just about every style of quilt, and I love teaching every style of quilter. I'll show lots of examples of what can be made with these techniques.
Now, if you're like me, you probably don't do anything without reading reviews or getting a personal recommendation. So I'll be happy to provide you with some references of other guilds that have really enjoyed my program.
After the presentation, you can survey your members and see if they'd like to have a workshop. We can do a one-day workshop using the Hearts and More tools, a one-day workshop using the Leaves Galore tools, or we can schedule a multi-day workshop. When your members fall in love with applique, they can always take one of my online courses or quilt-alongs.
If you want to schedule a presentation or workshop, you can reach out to Penny at SuePellandDesigns.com.
Hi, I'm Natalia Corrover. I'm an artist who uses repurposed materials, which I stitch by hand and machine. I help other artists who struggle knowing where to start using those materials to achieve their creative vision. All my classes are based on the concept of sustainability and harmony with the environment. My most popular workshop is titled Plastic Nature, and in it, I teach you how to create nature-inspired scenes out of single-use plastic. Single-use plastic is widely available in many different colors and textures, and is surprisingly easy to stitch by hand and machine. This workshop is available as a half day, a full day, or a 3-day deep dive. My Graffiti Lab workshop explores the urban artistry of graffiti in single-use plastic as well. I show you how to make highly graphic compositions out of the elements that are available to us on the plastic packaging. This can be a half-day workshop, a full-day workshop, or a 3-day deep dive. Like many textile artists, I am sure that you have heaps of scraps left over that you may not know what to do with. I'm here to tell you to not waste those tiny little morsels of texture and create compositions with them in my textural style class, which is available as a half-day workshop, a full-day workshop, or a 3-day deep dive. My lecture is titled Alternative Stitching Practices, and that's what I talk about, how to stitch with all sorts of materials that you may not think are appropriate for a sewing room. I'm here to tell you that they are. I am also known for my architectural compositions, and I teach a 6-week deep dive workshop on how I create those from concept to completion. My workshops are available for booking with guilds, virtually or in person, and I also teach my own set of workshops right here from the studio, virtually. You're welcome to see my schedule on my website. I hope to hear from you soon. Find me at artbynatalia.com.
I'm Lisa Erlandson, and I am a quilt maker, a quilt lover, a quilt historian, judge, appraiser, and lecturer. Quilting and sewing are in my DNA, and I've been involved with quilts for over 30 years. Once I discovered antique quilts, I just fell in love with them and became a slightly compulsive quilt collector. So then I had to figure out a way to do something with these antique quilts, and I decided to share them with all of you. Well, let me show you what I'm talking about. I'll fire up my slideshow. I have a few hundred antique quilts that I would love to share with you. So let's talk quilts. I have chosen a few of my lectures and created virtual presentations. Let's take a look. Frankenquilt is a look at what you can do with vintage or antique quilt blocks, covering the how-tos as well as the pitfalls of working with these blocks. I love using my antique quilts for inspiration to create a new quilt. Here we will be inspired by and enjoy the visual impact created by full-size antique quilts made with small-size traditional blocks. I get asked questions all the time about quilt care, washing antique quilts, and how to store quilts. This lecture tries to answer as many of those questions as possible. This is a trunk show of star quilts from 3 centuries, inspiring us to keep gazing at the stars. Is it true that there's nothing new under the sun? We'll ask and try to answer that. You have an inherited quilt top. Can you quilt it? Should you quilt it? Being a certified quilt appraiser for over 20 years, I would love to share the process of determining a quilt's value. This is a retrospective look at the history that quilters have made in the last 45 years. Did you realize that you are making history? In this lecture, you can learn some tips to make your best quilt. Women have managed to express opinions, beliefs, and provide social and political commentary through quilts for centuries. I do love to travel, and I would love for you to see my quilts in person. So in addition to considering me for a virtual event, remember me for your face-to-face events too. This is how to contact me. Thanks. Bye.
Hi, my name is Allison Wilbur. I live in Barrington, Rhode Island. You can find information on my lectures and workshops at AllisonWilburQuilts.com. I've been quilting for 25 years, and I've been art quilting since 2005. Today I'm going to talk about my lectures, but I have workshops that go with most of the lectures and support the material in them. Trip Around the World, How to Travel with a Quilter's Eye, is my lecture that talks about fabric, quilting and piecing motifs, color combinations, and stitching techniques from around the world. It's based on my collection of global textiles that I've gathered while living overseas for 2 decades in 7 different countries and traveling to many more. I use a lot of these fabrics and stitching techniques in my quilts, and I help you get an idea on what fabrics are great for quilting. Japan Tradition and Inspiration is a trip to Japan, the 2nd largest quilting community in the world. I talk about stitching techniques like sashiko, dyeing techniques like shibori, different Japanese fabrics like ikat, and patchwork techniques like boro. Fabulous Fabric helps you put together groups of fabrics that work great in a quilt. We talk about character, color, contrast, and quality, how to go into your stash and pull together fabrics that make a great quilt. Color in quilting delves more deeply into the question of color, a topic many quilters find intimidating. I help you use color tools to help you make decisions. We talk about the different properties of colors and how colors work together. And we especially talk about contrast, one of the important elements in making a great quilt. Quilting as a design element helps you find motifs in quilting that will complement your piecing. There's a lot of open space in modern quilts these days, and we look at the past and other design ideas to help you build a library of different quilting motifs that you can use on your quilts. Learning to love machine quilting on your domestic machine talks about the different features on your sewing machine that can help with quilting, the different materials like thread and batting, and it's full of videos that give you a front row seat in how to use these different techniques in your quilting. You'll find information about my lectures and workshops at AllisonWilburQuilts.com. I'd love to come and talk to your guild, so please contact me.
Hi, I'm Sarah of Sarah Goer Quilts. I am a former middle school math teacher turned quilt teacher, and I have been teaching my quilt workshops and delivering lectures to guilds on Zoom for well over a year now. I would love to visit with your guild. My workshops are all planned improv technique-based workshops. This includes all about angles, improv log cabins, and creating a scrappy slab. In my planned improv workshops, I present a set of rules for students to follow, and then you can decide whether you follow or break those rules. and add any twist that you're interested in to make the project your own. One of my favorite parts about teaching planned improv is that everybody's projects look very different in the end. And I often get ideas for my future projects from my students. My workshops include discussions about iterating on design concepts so that if you've produced something improvisationally, you can make more that will look like it goes with that first section that you've created. And we discuss quilting ideas, so you'll get numerous ideas for how to finish your project after class. I give lectures on a variety of topics, including improv piecing and color, as well as 100-day projects. My latest addition to the Guild presentation list is a demo lecture of my Creating a Scrappy Slab workshop. So I've taken the content from my 6-hour workshop and compressed it into a 1-hour lecture demo for the entire Guild. So that's been a popular option lately. None of my workshops require kits or any specialized tools. Most everything you need for improv you already have at home. The workshops are generally scrap friendly and the materials list is minimal. I teach with a 2-camera setup, so you can see me and you can see detailed visuals of what I'm showing in my overhead camera at my table. For a 6-hour workshop with the Guild, we can schedule that as one 6-hour workshop, though that's a long day on Zoom. So most Guilds favor 2 3-hour sessions. Generally, I teach those 1 week apart, and then I'm available by email for any questions that come up as people are working on their project between classes. You can reach me at sarahgoerquilts@gmail.com, and you can find more information under the Teaching tab at my website, sarahgoerquilts.com. I'd like to thank Global Quilt Connections for hosting today, and thank you to all the Guild representatives that are in attendance. Again, you can reach me at sarahgoerquilts@gmail.com. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tara Miller. I am the Quilt District. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Quilt District. You can also find me on my website, quiltdistrict.com. I'm in the Atlanta area, but willing to travel. I have 2 excellent lectures ready to go for you. One of them is either virtual or in person, and that one is Graphic Quilts of the 20th Century. My passion is putting quilts into context. The quilting that we're doing today and the quilts that we're making today are based on and have roots in quilts and quilting that came before. And I love to show those connections. That's really where my passion lies. So in that talk, Graphic Quilts of the 20th Century, we go through the full 20th century, starting a little bit before this giant pineapple log cabin was made in 1879. And then we go all the way through to nearly the end of the 20th century. This spiderweb quilt was made in the 1980s. So we'll explore some of the connections there between quilts like that and lots of other funky, fun graphic quilts. And we'll put them into context about what was happening in women's lives and in the collective consciousness of those times. We don't get too heavy about it, but we do need to see what's happening in the world and what is shaping women's lives as they're making the pieces that they're making. My other great talk is Quilting with the Fire of My Foremothers. And as you might be able to guess by that topic or that title, it is exploring, again, those roots and those connections. I talk a little bit about my quilting journey and then go back and look at how my foremothers and your foremothers helped to shape what we're doing now. We also, in that talk, discuss a bit about dating antique and vintage quilts. I talk about some of the clues you can look for that'll give away the date or the time frame in which that quilt was made. So you'll walk away from that lecture with some solid tools in your toolbox for looking at quilts that you might find on eBay or in the thrift store, or that you might have in your attic or in a trunk. You can find all this information for my talks and workshops on my website at quiltdistrict.com on the Talks and Workshops tab. I have plans to add more talks and workshops in the future, so do check back regularly to see what I have on offer. I look forward to meeting with you and your guild. I love spending time with quilters. Thanks for inviting me.
Hey everyone, my name is Katie Lewis and I am a certified teacher for scrappy applique and color confidence for quilters. I love helping others explore and experiment with fabric and color. My master's degree is in teaching and I apply my experience with adult learners to make my quilt programs and workshops engaging and interactive. I offer several different programs and workshops. Scrappy applique is a quick and fun applique technique that looks way more complicated than it actually is. Wait until you see how easily you can transform your scraps into one-of-a-kind quilts. What I love about scrappy applique is that it takes the pressure off piecing perfectly, allowing us to explore color and prints in a fun and easy way. In my 1-hour scrappy applique program and trunk show, I'll walk your group through the entire scrappy applique process from start to finish. In my scrappy applique workshop, we'll put theory into practice and create our own scrappy applique quilts. You can choose a 4-hour workshop where we'll create our collage pieces and prepare our quilt tops. You can also choose an extended 6-hour workshop where we dive deeper into finishing options. I'll guide your members step by step and share all the insider tips and tricks to make the process super simple. Exploring applique is a 4-hour standalone workshop that can also be a great add-on to scrappy applique. In Exploring Applique, we'll make a quilt top using a variety of applique techniques and finishing options. Your members will get to try out several different methods of applique with options for hand stitching or machine stitching. We'll also learn the tricks to beautiful satin stitching and see how couching can add definition and dimension. In Color Confidence for Quilters, we explore the elements of color and how they apply to fabric. Quilting is such an important creative outlet, and struggling through fabric pulls shouldn't hold us back. So often quilters lack confidence in their fabric choices. You know what it's like. You buy a fabric that just calls to you in the quilt shop, but then you get it home and you don't know what to pair it with. Or you finish a quilt and have some great scraps left over, but not enough to make another finished quilt, and you wrestle with what fabrics to add to the palette. I remember feeling daunted by color and prints as well, and lacking the confidence to choose a fabric pull I was sure to like. That's why in my 1-hour Color Confidence for Quilters program, we explore the 4 elements of color and how we can apply these elements to create harmony and contrast in our quilts. In my Color Confidence workshops, we go deeper with hands-on exercises to explore how hue, saturation, clarity, and tone can be mixed and matched to create different effects in our quilts. My goal is to help your members gain confidence in their fabric choices, creating fabric pulls that reflect their personality and style. Everyone can develop an eye for color, and I'd love to show your guild how. You can find out all the details about my programs and workshops online at katielewisquilting.com. Thanks.
I'm Daisy Aschehoug, and it's lovely to be here at the Global Quilt Connection Meet the Teachers for a 3rd time. My other Global Quilt Connection videos are available on my Warm Folk blog and YouTube channel, as well as the Global Quilt Connection channel. I'm an American living in Norway on a peninsula in the Oslo Fjord. I work full-time designing and making quilts, and I have enormous passion for curved piecing. I've been in a bunch of magazines and co-wrote a book. I love teaching and lecturing, and as of September 2021, I'm fully vaccinated and booking both virtual and in-person events. I just came back from my first solo exhibition at the European Patchwork Meeting in Alsace, France, where I got to share 39 of my quilts, including these 3 new pieces. I currently offer 3 lectures. The evolution of my design process is a get-to-know-me PowerPoint and trunk show. Anatomy of a curve is where I go deep into the world of curved piecing. I show you how and why I do what I do when I'm sewing curves. And lastly, laser cutting for quilters, where I introduce quilters into the amazing possibilities that are opened up when you have access to one of these machines. Some of my workshops are on specific patterns, like spin-off and clem, which use precise curves, but I also teach improv curves like these in the Pebble Pop quilt. I offer 2 technique workshops that give workshop participants some room to make their own design choices. Giant Nested Curves is a combination of improv and precision. And the Curves Lab Traditional Blocks is a great bridge for traditional guilds wanting to try something new. Both classes contain curved instruction as well as support for experimenting with design concepts. I've just loaded new patterns on my website, and any of those can be turned into workshops. Midnight Sun, Peaks, Bumps and Thorns, Ginkgo fans, and Magic Keys. My virtual workshops are 5 hours, and in-person workshops range from 5 to 7 hours. When you take a virtual workshop with me, I use several different cameras to capture the steps I'm explaining at the cutting mat, the sewing machine, the ironing board, and the design wall. You can find everything I've talked about in this video on my workshop and lecture page, and you're welcome to get in touch with me via the contact form on my website or by email, daisy@warmfolk.com. Whether it's virtually or in person, I hope to see you soon.
Thank you for joining us today. My name is Lyric Montgomery Kennard, and my partners are Sue Bleiweiss and Mel Beach. We are so glad to have you with us. If you're interested in becoming a virtual teacher, go to academyforvirtualteaching.com, where you can join a vibrant community of teachers who are striving to become more proficient and professional online teachers. If you go to globalquiltconnection.com, you can find downloadable spreadsheets as well as links to all of our virtual quilt teachers' websites. We hope you and your guild are able to find exactly the program and the courses that you're looking for.